clients. But at the same time, she did disclose it. It's on her resume. They knew about it ahead of time.
Did she tell them she's making money?
She's making money?
She didn't. But
That's the first.
Can you work and be meaningfully employed and also have social media? That's what we're talking about today. There's a beauty blogger, beauty influencer, who's also a lawyer, who got called out for having a social media presence and also being a lawyer.
It is not something that was hidden, but it was also acknowledged that they did not understand that I was earning money on social media at all through paid partnerships.
She left. She says she's happier now, but the fact still remains. Can you have social media and maybe even be working on social media as an influencer and also have a job? You've been through this before, but kind of before the era of social media.
Yeah, absolutely. So I used to have a corporate job in marketing, and I started writing beauty articles for a magazine, and the CEO did not like it. He was like, you have to choose.
Yeah.
Luckily, you know, it's not social media, so they weren't reading all the magazines,
Right.
So I got away with it, but eventually I did leave that job, and we were talking about, like, what does that mean when you work for a company? Does that mean that they have ownership
over your body and your soul and your spirit and your life?
Yeah, like, what if you're doing your job and you're doing it excellently and you're doing something else that has nothing to do with your job and you're doing well? Like, why does it matter?
Would they say for a lawyer, though, that there might be a conflict of interest at some point? Because I know my lawyer will say to me certain times she can't work with me because if she's representing both the client and the other person, then it's going to be a conflict of interest. Maybe that's the concern? Eva, what do you think?
Okay, so my husband actually is a lawyer.
Yes.
And so I actually had the conversation with him, and he said she should have known it would be a problem, because if you're making income from that, you need to disclose to the firm that that's happening. And if you have certain clients, they don't want that heat onto them. And even when I do my own social media stuff, I have to be very careful what I put out there, because it's a reflection of my husband as well. And he's not on my social media channel because of that.
Okay.
And when you do something like law, it's very different, the ramifications you have for having a public life when you have different type of clients.
But at the same time, she did disclose it. It's on her resume. They knew about it ahead of
Did
time.
she tell them she's making money?
She didn't. But
That's the first, because that's in your contract. That's in your contract, because when you have a job, I asked my husband.
Okay.
And you know, if
her husband knows.
No, he's a lawyer.
Well, no, when you work for firms, you need to disclose to your firm if you're making money, how much you're making money, because you're taking away from your clients, from your business. At some point, you're not going to be able to do your job if you're a full-time beauty influencer and a lawyer.
So
you got to pick and choose.
So let's get outside of law then. Let's take it outside of law. What if it's not law? First, T, let me get your thoughts on it. What do you think?
I think it was fair for them to say to her, you have to choose.
And what if it's not law?
If it's not law, this might be a different conversation, but law, I think, is a different conversation. And they might not want to be associated with certain brands that she's promoting, and she represents them.
For sure.
So I definitely think. But if it's outside of law, like, give me an example. Give me an example of a job.
TV host.
A TV host? No, well, I think that's very different. I think it's very, very different. Especially, well, if you're a news TV host, that's different. But if you are a lifestyle TV host like yourself, I think that that's fair game. You're allowed to go on social media. You're allowed to promote certain, because you host a lifestyle show and you're talking about lifestyle products.
Right.
But if you are a news anchor, that's a very different conversation. I think it depends on what you're doing for a living.
But you should get paid for it. I think you should get paid not to do stuff. So, like, for example,
paid for the exclusivity of not working for everyone else.
Yes, I do think so.
Well, that's an interesting point. Even outside of being paid as a social media influencer, let's say you're not even getting paid. Let's say it's the image that you're putting out on your social media. And I have been judgy about that before. If someone wants to be reporting on a refugee camp in Syria, and then the next week they're in a bikini, is there a conflict there? Can your workplace say, we don't know if we want that to be the representation of what is reporting on war-torn areas? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
I know it sounds old school, but I'm with you.
Right.
I think it's inappropriate.
Yeah.
And I personally, to be honest, I don't want a lawyer representing me, especially if it was like criminal law or something serious like that. And I can go on their Instagram and see them in a bikini, or even if it's a man like in a Speedo and he's showing his abs, like it's harder for me to take them seriously.
But even from a corporate perspective too, like when you have all these different clients, you're a representation of them. When you are a lawyer, that is your client. So whatever you're doing, you can bring heat on to whether it be a corporation or an individual. I think those type of jobs are very different, even in news media, where you are bringing talking about the Syrian crisis, and then you're flashing on a bikini in a beach. Like there's that dichotomy that other people don't see. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying,
I know, because it's kind of old school. I know.
It's definitely old school.
That's
Do you
what
think
I
it's
think.
wrong?
I don't think it's wrong. I feel like if you have political views, you're expressing personal opinions that are compromising the position of the firm, and you're a lawyer, I get it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I hold back because my husband's not cool with social media, and he doesn't want me to express a ton of stuff.
Right.
I hold back. I get it. But I feel like we're in a new age where social media is where we're going, right? There's going to be this, the separation of your work life and then your afterlife, and there are people that can do both.
Yeah.
And so why are we saying you can't do it if it's not affecting that business?
I totally get both sides of it, and I think that people contain multitudes.
Yeah.
And when they say show up with your whole self at work, what do they mean by that?
They don't want your whole self.
Right?
No one wants your whole self.
Right? Maybe they don't want your whole self. We got to wrap it up, but I'll give you the last
do you
word.
always give your whole self when you meet a new person, or
Yeah.
when you're at a certain job interview? You don't. You hold back parts of yourself all the time, and I think sometimes on social media you should be holding back. I really do.
All right.